Hello, and welcome to another session of virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley. My name is Bati Blumenthal. I'm the branch supervisor of the Putterham location of the Public Library of Brookline. Virtual gentle chair yoga with Keith Beasley is sponsored by the Friends of the Brookline Public Library, who sponsor this program and programs like it. As always, participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, I give you Keith.
So let's sit up in mountain pose, or you could stand up if you wanted. It's your choice. And we're going to begin with the breath and with our posture. So thinking about posture, we have three curves in the back. We have the lower curve down here, goes in, and then the curve in the middle or the thoracic area is going back the opposite way, and the third one up here in the cervical spine is going in the same direction as the lower back, so it curves this way, like this. So even those curves are built into our body so that the vertebrae are stacked most evenly, or the weight is distributed best when those three curves are maintained. So we don't want them to be too flat or too curved. We want them to be in between, like Goldilocks, with the finding something to balance. Maybe that's a story I hadn't thought about before. It's a story about finding balance. So it's really a yoga story. And sitting up nice and tall. So in yoga, we talk about sthira and sukha, which are two Sanskrit words that mean effort and ease. So maybe think about that throughout the practice, the idea that we want to be working, but not overworking. So if you find that you're straining, your muscles are super tense, or you're starting to breathe, too a big heavy breathing, then you're probably overdoing it. And on the other hand, if you're starting to fall asleep, or you feel really sluggish, maybe you need to pick it up a bit. So we can use the breath to help with that. So the breath, a little faster breathing, picks up the pace, picks up the energy. So find your breath pace now to bring you into what you might think of as balance as you sit up nice and tall with those nice curves in the back, feeling the belly expanding with the breath. Perhaps slowing the breath down if you need to quiet the mind, and perhaps increasing the breath slightly if you need to pick things up. If you're feeling sluggish, feel free to rest the hand on the belly. So you feel the belly moving. So that's the diaphragm is moving down, and it's moving the internal organs out, which is why the belly goes out. And then as the diaphragm goes back up and the lungs exhale, the belly goes back in. And notice the position of the feet here and how wide apart the knees are. We'd like the ankles directly underneath the knees and the toes pointing at about the same angle as the legs. So if you have a slightly wider stance like this, your toes will be slightly pointing out a little bit, so that if you drew a line between the hip and the knee and the toes, they'd be pointing out at that same direction. same direction. So depending on where your knees are, will determine that. You could also work with something between the thighs here. It's a nice way to engage the legs, either a block, a box of tissues, a rolled up towel, really anything. Block is nice because it's the foam yoga blocks are very lightweight. So it's very easy to very gently squeeze with the very middle of the thighs as you sit up. So we're going to add a little movement now. We'll bring the palms together and then we'll inhale and circle the arms around. And notice how the chest lifts a little bit when the arms start up. So we get a little more movement in the spine, a little undulation of the spine. It actually ripples into the neck and down to the pelvis too. We move one part of the spine because we're moving the shoulders, because we're not moving the legs, and it has an effect on the whole spine. And that's true in both directions. Moving the pelvis and the legs affects the spine all the way up to the shoulders and the neck. Of course, not exactly in the same way. And let's bring the palms together and go the other way now. So we'll exhale, drop the hands, palms are down, and then flip the palms up as you inhale and come up. It's nice here if you can close the eyes to let the arms ride up and down on the breath. So you feel a connection with the breath. You feel a synergy with the breath. The movement and the breath, they work together. And as you breathe in, the arms float up, and as you exhale, they float down. So the breath, the rhythm of the breath is strong here, and the movement accompanies that rhythm. And that's important because we want to maintain the breath in a rhythmical state. And perhaps you notice the chin lifts up and down a little bit without you having to do anything. Maybe the pelvis is rocking a little bit. And if you are using something between the legs, it's a very gentle squeeze. Just enough to hold whatever you have there in place. And then let's go ahead and bring the palms together and go ahead and look at the hands now. Line up the fingers and line up the hands. So I'm turning them so you can see, so that they look even and the tips of the fingers are even. So make them even, spread the fingers gently apart, and then notice how the palms touch. So for some people, they might, the entire palm may press into the other side and vice versa. And for some people, there might be a little bit of a gap here. So one of the things that you may notice, especially in the wintertime, is that the hands tend to almost like they curl in like this, so that we get a cupping here rather than an opening. So we're going to work with that in a moment to try to open up some of these, open up the hands, and gently pressing the hands together, gently pressing and feeling the palms and where the fingers are touching, where they're touching. This might be another place where you can close the eyes and just think about the gentle squeezing together. So you'll feel a little contraction probably in the pectoral muscles here as they squeeze together, and the hands are gently pushing. So it's not, we're not overdoing anything here. It's a gentle kind of squeeze. And then release. Actually, let's do this. Let's inhale and open. We'll go back and forth like that. Bring the hands together. Even them up. Gently press. And then inhale. Oh, maybe a sigh of relief. And next time you inhale, the hands float apart. So the rhythm of the breath here is similar to before. We're letting the movement follow the breath. So the hands are coming apart on on the inhalation, and they're coming back together on the exhalation. And one more time, inhale. You might notice the shoulder blades coming together behind you when you do this. And as you press the palms together now, think about pressing the feet down at the same time. So that is an isometric contraction of the quadriceps and a little bit in the belly and maybe even some in the buttocks. So we're pressing the feet down. If you have trouble feeling that, you could slide forward in the chair, and it's as if you're going to stand up without standing. So sometimes leaning forward like this and then trying to press the feet down, you get that feeling of these quadriceps contracting. So we'd like to be able to have that feeling. It's really training the quadriceps to contract so that even if you're sitting up and not leaning forward, you can press the feet down with this contraction. So you'll feel the soles of the feet pressing down as you press the hands and fingers together and then release. And try that twice more. Pressing in, pressing the feet down, extending the spine up, and release. Relax. Soften the shoulders, soften the face and eyes. It's important that release is just as important as the engagement. Pressing the palms and fingers, pressing the feet down, extending the spine up, relaxing, softening. Giving a little sigh, maybe. So let's rock the feet for a moment. Rocking the feet back and forth. So we're going to warm up the joints here. Noticing how the heels lift and then the toes. And then let's add the hands to it. Or really the wrists, and the hands are following along. And this would be a good place. We were talking before about the opening of the hands, opening of the palms. It's really the same idea with the feet too, actually. Sometimes lifting the toes up. If you look down at my toes, I'm lifting them up and letting them spread apart and then releasing them down to the floor. So it's like this. It looks like if you look at my hands, it's the same thing that my toes are doing. I'm lifting and spreading and then softening and relaxing. So it's important, soften and relax, and then lift and spread. And you can add the hands to it. The nice thing about doing the hands is it begins to open that palm area. And this is done without straining. So it's maybe about half effort. And we only hold it for a moment so that we can keep the amount of tension to a minimum. And now go back to rocking the feet. And now rock the hands. And as you rock the feet and hands, think about that same opening that you were just doing. So the opening, if you go slow, excuse me, the opening is still there, but it's with the movement now. So the wrists are moving, the opening is moving. As if I'm going to say hi to you, and holding my hand up to say hi. So see if you can keep the movement going in the wrists and the ankles, and then adding that dimension of spreading and separating the fingers and the toes. And then go ahead and come down. Let's roll the shoulders. Both shoulders, and then one shoulder at a time. Beginning to add a little bit of turning here. So as you roll the shoulder, go ahead and let the body turn. Thinking about moving the elbow back. And adding a little bit of swimming, a little backstroke. So turning and letting the arms, just like in a backstroke. So depending on your shoulders, you can make the circles a little smaller and even lower like this. We're still getting nice movement in the shoulder joint. We want to do it without, there certainly shouldn't be any pain or discomfort, but we also don't want things to be too much popping and clicking, and we want to keep the stability in the joint. If you're finding that the joint feels really loose, then make the movement smaller, and especially mindful, perhaps going a little slower. It's a nice way to increase mindfulness, increasing the ability to feel what's happening. Maybe even feeling that movement, that band of tissue across the belly, turning in coordination with the arm circling. Let's go the other way now. So reaching out. We get the turning in the belly now as we reach out, across, and down the outside of the leg. So if we reach across and the outside of the opposite leg, we'll get a little bit more turning. And if you wanted to, you could lay your ear down as if you're taking a breath. So my ear is rotating down, so it would be facing towards the knees, as if I was turning my head to take a breath. And be mindful here about keeping some length in the spines. We're not going so far forward that we're all rounded. We're still maintaining some extension in the spine. And then coming back down, taking a couple breaths, and then a few cactus breaths. So inhaling and exhaling back. Can begin to cross the arms here if that feels okay, starting a little lower, and then if it still feels okay, you can start to work your way up until you're hugging up towards the shoulder blades. If you want to be able to feel the movement more, or get in tune with the movement more, slow it down a little bit. This can give the opportunity to really feel things like the shoulder blades moving forward and back. Keeping the spine lifted when you do this. So even though when the shoulder blades are moving, the shape back there changes a little bit, we can still keep the length or most of the length in the spine, but without straining, of course. And then coming back down, and let's go down to the knees now. So you should be getting a little bit warmer, hopefully. So feel free, especially at this time of year, the winter time, or even in the summer when it's air conditioned, put on enough clothes so you're warm. And as you warm up, you want layers so you can take the layer off, and then you'll be able to put it back on later as we cool down. So lifting the foot up, thinking about the lengthening of the spine here. Remembering to balance ease and effort. So you can even rest the arms for a moment, extend the spine up as you lift the legs. So let's think about casually lifting. So I'm not overdoing. So for some people, if you have tight hamstrings, your foot might not come up all the way. So tight hamstrings are usually indicated by how far we can extend the leg, how far the leg opens, or how straight the leg gets. And hamstrings are a really tough one because we sit so much that they tend to be shortened. And it's also cold this time of year, and so they're harder to stretch. So we have to be thoughtful about it and patient, really patient with hamstrings. And sitting up tall. So think about those 3 curves in the back, and then you can begin to add other appendages if you want. So if this is really easy, just one leg, you can add an arm. And something to think about as you if you want to extend your practice throughout the day or throughout the week, you could pick one movement, one set of poses or efforts that we do, and then practice that for the week. So this might be a good one to do because we sit a lot. What's nice is that you can actually do this most of the time. As long as you have enough room under the table, if you're sitting at a table, you just need enough room to lift your leg, and you can do leg lifts. And if you're sitting there and there's nobody around, it's no problem to lift your arm. Nobody's going to say anything. Or even 2 arms. So remember the number, each time we do more appendages, it gets a little harder. We need to be mindful of keeping the spine lengthened. So that's the important thing. If you notice you're starting to slump, then don't add any more appendages. Just continue with whatever you've got. And of course, the most challenging one is going to be to lift both legs and both arms. And of course, if you need more of a challenge, you could hold the position. But remember to breathe. So even when we hold a pose, we're still breathing. And in the beginning, holding the pose, if you want to try it, just hold it for, say, 1 breath. It creates more tension. So let's go ahead and bring the arms and the hands and feet down. So if you want to hold the position, the pose at any time in our class, or at any time that you do yoga poses, keep in mind that it creates more tension in the body. So you really have to work on the awareness of letting go of balancing ease and effort. So even though you're efforting, you have to include some ease. Otherwise, you get all stiff and it becomes unpleasant. And you could also, you also develop strain in the muscles. So that's one of the advantages to moving. It's we don't tend to get as strained when we keep the muscles moving, because of course that's what they're intended to do. We don't know when yoga poses really started, but we know from evolution that things are well, we don't know for sure, but we're assuming that tens of thousands of years ago, people did not do yoga poses. I mean, maybe they did, but we don't know. But sitting up nice and tall, and let's slide forward in the chair. So circling around. Using the arms to help us, support us. And then if you want to make it more challenging, you can remove the arms, perhaps circling as if you're stirring something in front, big pot of something, and then changing direction. So when you get tired of one direction, change direction. You could even count if you wanted the number of circles. And if you still want more challenge, you can begin to bring the hands out and circle the arms around. Keeping the belly engaged here. So we need a firm abdomen in order to keep the spine supported. And also to keep it extended. So the abdomen here is doing some work. So if I was sideways like this, if I was leaning back, I would be able to feel the abdomen. And as I'm circling, I get more work in the abdomen as I lean back, and it relaxes as I lean forward. Keeping the spine lengthened so the spine is not rounding like this. And then coming back up and sitting up nice and tall with some cactus breaths. We're going to add a little dimension to it. This is for the working on the shoulder and neck relationship. Hopefully it'll give you a better relationship between your shoulders and your neck. So we'll bring the arms down. So sitting up tall, and we're going to inhale, raising the arms up with the thumbs coming up like this. Palms are facing each other as we lift the chin slightly. So the gaze is up a little bit, maybe 45-degree angle. And then as we exhale, we release the chin down, keeping the spine long. And then we inhale, the arms come out in a cactus breath, and we release the chin down again as we exhale. So you'll notice that as we inhale, we're lifting the chin up. And as we exhale, we release the chin down. And the arms just stay in that position that we put them in. So inhaling cactus, exhaling, releasing the chin. And arms up, gazing up slightly, exhaling, releasing the chin. So it's important to follow your breath here. So it's an inhale, gently looking up, exhale, gently looking down. And then we change the position of the arms. Up, keeping the shoulders relaxed. So it's important to maintain that balance. So there's some effort, and then there's that ease that we need to find, especially as we exhale. The exhalation is the opportunity to release and to let go. And one more time, up. And then exhaling the chin down, and then inhaling cactus, exhaling the chin down. And then releasing the arms down. Let's roll the shoulders a few times. So that can help to not only make the neck and shoulders improve the coordination between them, but also give them a little bit more mobility. Since we use the neck and shoulders, I mean the head and the neck and the shoulders, when we turn, they often turn together. They would actually naturally turn together. And so let's sit up nice and tall. Let's go back to the palms for just a moment. Now that we're warmed up, and I'm going to give them a little massage. So we've done this. I don't think we've done this in a while, but I'm going to get a little closer to the camera so you can see. I'm going to hold my palm out like this, and then I'm going to take this fleshy part of the thumb on the other hand and gently massage that palm. It's almost like I'm gently opening, starting with the fleshy part right in the center and then opening. And then I do it in 3 spots. I do it on the pinky side. I do it between the thumb and the index finger. Harder to see it here, but this part goes right in the center of the palm, and I gently open. So it's a gentle opening. It's to encourage the palm to open, especially around the thumb. The thumb can sometimes kind of get stuck in like that and creates pain. Anytime the joints are misaligned or they're not aligned as intended or as we were born with, they can create pain or discomfort. And let's do the other side too. We'll start with the pinky side. And then we'll go between the index and the thumb. And I'm not creating any pain here. You might get a touch of, it might feel like you're massaging it, but no pain or discomfort here. If there's pain or discomfort, then try doing it a little lighter. And if you work on this over time, that palms will open more easily. It does take practice. So this might be another one if you can remember to do it every day or every other day, just a few strokes in each spot to help open the palms. You might even find you get better circulation, a little friction in the palms. The palms seem to get pinker and warmer, which is a good thing in the winter. So sitting up nice and tall. Let's do some poses here. Let's start with our tree pose. So our balance poses require us to concentrate. So remember drishti point, finding a drishti point in the pose, concentrating there and just breathing and extending the spine and holding the shape of the pose. So we'll start seated. We'll demonstrate seated. If you prefer to do it, we'll do it twice. If you prefer to do it standing both times and you know standing, please go ahead. So sitting up tall and then stepping the foot out. And notice how the body turns a little. So turn yourself back to face forward. And then inhaling, extending the spine, extending the crown of the head up. So lengthen, lengthen, lengthen up the spine. And then lifting the hands up. So you could have prayer or arms out to the side or even overhead, your choice. Taking a few breaths. So the nice thing is if you're seated and you feel grounded and comfortable, you could even close the eyes here. Closing the eyes standing is extremely challenging. Don't recommend it. We use the eyes to help with balance. So when we don't see stuff or when it's dark, our balance isn't as good. Not just because we don't see things, but because the darkness, the lack of visual information. And then going and lowering the arms down, bringing the foot back, coming back to mountain pose, sitting up tall. Let's do the other side, stepping the foot out and finding a spot. So the sole of the foot's on the inside of the outside of the chair leg. And remembering to turn the torso back if it turns too far to face the front. And then we can add the hands. Think about pressing that front foot down in the floor like we did when we isometrically contracted the quadricep earlier. so that it's as if the weight is on that foot or more weight is on that foot. And you're going to get a little light that makes us feel a little bit lighter in the torso. And then you can extend the arms or bring them to any of the 3 spots, your choice. And perhaps here closing the eyes too. Finding some ease, especially as you exhale. And then when you're ready, you can lower the arms down. So we'll do the second time around, I'll demonstrate it standing. So you have a choice here. You could repeat what we just did, or you can stand. If you have any concerns about balance, please have your chair handy or have 2 chairs. One behind, one in front is ideal. So just to even have a chair to rest your fingers on is helpful for balance. So standing up nice and tall, extending the spine up. So go ahead and roll the shoulders back and then release the shoulders down. Keep the belly engaged here. So there's a firmness here in the belly, firmness in the buttocks, firmness in the quadriceps. So that's going to stabilize the pelvis and allow the spine to extend up. And see if you can find some ease at the same time. Face and eyes are soft here. And then when you're ready, you can step the foot out. So now most of the weight, or nearly 95% of the weight, is on this straight leg. And then we'll bring the foot in. It could go on the inside of the calf, or if you need a little more support, you could always rest the toes down on the floor with the heel on the ankle of the straight leg. Just don't put it up on the knee like this, not on the knee. And then you can add the arms. Add your drishti point. Find your point of concentration. As you inhale, the spine extends. As you exhale, relax the shoulders, but keep the spine lengthened. See if you can find some ease here. If you need to touch the floor, that's okay with the other foot. And then go ahead whenever you're ready and bring the hands and arms down. And come back to mountain pose. Now with mountain pose, you do have a choice of how far the feet are apart. Try not to go wider than hip width, but depending on how the legs feel, some people prefer the feet together, or some people prefer some space. So think about how do I feel? How stable do I feel? And usually if you have a space between the feet, you'll get more stability. And then mountain pose. So engaging the belly, the quadriceps, the gluteal muscles behind you. Lift and extend, open the heart. Relax the chin down. Face and eyes are soft. And then go ahead and step the foot out. Extend the spine up. Get lift from that through the straight leg, from the foot all the way up to the crown of the head. And then whenever you're ready, you can bring the sole of the foot to the inside of the calf. And whenever you're ready, you can add the arms. Finding that drishti point. Raising the gaze slightly, raising your thoughts. Balancing our ease and effort as we stay balanced. Whenever you're ready, you can come back down. Let's swing the arms. If you're standing, the knees are soft. And if you're seated, you might have the feet a little bit spread further, wider apart. If the arms get floppy, sometimes they kind of give you a little tap, or you can let them tap you, almost like a gentle slap. And remember, it's yoga, so it's definitely gentle. And let's sit back down, and we'll do our next pose. So our next pose will be extended side angle pose. So we'll sit up in mountain pose, this time with the feet fairly with a good distance apart. So we have very stable position here. And the hip and the knee and the toes point out in the same direction. So there's an angle as the feet are apart, the toes turn out. So watch my feet as they come in, they straighten, they come more. And as they go out, the wider they are apart, the wider my feet will be. I don't want to be twisting the knee. So I want the toes and the knee in alignment, same thing. But we want to be comfortable too. So depending on your hips, it might be more comfortable to have the feet a little closer together. And then sitting up nice and tall, we'll inhale and exhale. And then inhale, we'll extend the leg out, extend the arm up, and then come out over the opposite leg. And then come back. So that's the movement. The movement is inhale and the opposite side, and then come back. So inhale. We're inhaling when we come up so that we think about extending the spine and then coming back. So we're going to go back and forth like that. And you might notice the exhale. Perhaps it feels natural when you come down to exhale. It's almost like we're coming back to our mountain pose. And so we're relaxing. So the more effort is coming in the pose, and then we're coming back as we exhale. So we'll go back and forth like that. If you want to make it more challenging, the feet could be further apart. You could extend more, and you could even come further down towards the thigh like this, bringing the elbow down. So depending on where your shoulder is and your ribs are relative to the thigh makes it potentially more challenging, from keeping there's more up here to being further down like this. So your choice. Either way, think about keeping both sides of the spine somewhat lengthened. One side will be shorter than the other, but try not to bend like this. Try to keep extended like this. That's why it's called extended side angle. You could even, this could be another place where you could hold the pose for a breath, inhaling as you're extending, and then exhaling, coming back. So remember, holding the pose is more challenging. So be mindful of that. And please don't overdo. And we'll do one more to each side. and sitting up nice and tall. So I'll show that one standing for those who want to move on to something more challenging. And it is a lot more challenging. So it's okay to do it seated. It's actually, the benefits are very similar. Notice how the shape is so similar. So if we're doing it standing, we'll step the feet apart. We'll extend the arms out like this. And to do it standing, we're actually going to turn the foot out. And then as we exhale, or as we inhale, it's like this. Inhale, and then inhale up. The other thing you could do, since this is chair yoga, and this is a nice way to practice too, is you have your chair and you'll stand so the chair is a couple feet away. And so that we start out with a similar shape as seated. We turn that foot out, turn this back foot in, and then we exhale or inhale. We're gonna come into the pose on an inhalation. So we'll inhale, and we can bring the hand down to the chair like this for support, and then come back up. Inhale. And over time, if you practice this, you might find that eventually the elbow comes down to the leg, and then eventually the hand comes to the floor. I can't really do that. So let's bring the, I could never really do that. The best, but in between, you could use a block. So if you find that you are getting, that this stuff is all too easy, and you want to lower the, make it more challenging, the lower you go to the ground, the more challenging it becomes. So we'll come back to mountain and step the feet apart. So this is our 5-pointed star. And just pause here for a moment, take a couple of breaths. And then we'll turn that front foot so that the knee, the hip and the knee and the toes point out to the side in the same direction, the same as my arm is pointing right now. So I'm actually, the thigh is rotating, so there's no rotation in the hip, in the knee. All the rotation is happening further up like this. And extending the arm, and then inhale and bending that knee, making sure the knee doesn't come past the ankle. So we don't want the knee to be like this. It's a lot of strain on the knee. If you want to go further down, you have to move the feet further apart. So in the beginning, a small bend is really good. Inhale. And then over time, as your strength builds and flexibility builds, you can try a wider stance. And time usually means weeks, maybe even months for this pose, because this is a challenging pose. But notice how I use the chair for support. And then I turn the feet back, lower the arms down, and then I can toe heel my feet. So coming in and out of the pose, we want to do it in an easy, comforting way. And we're going to do triangle pose next. So starting with seated triangle. So the leg setup is the same as the extended side angle for triangle, or you could extend the legs straight like this. So your choice. And I'm going to do it the same as today as extended side angle. So inhaling our 5-pointed star, and then inhale, extend up, and exhale. Notice how the hand begins to move down the leg. So if my leg was straight, it could move out across. And I'd like to keep the torso relatively straight so that the bending is coming down here where the torso meets at the waist, down at the waist, and then coming back up. Inhale and exhale. And then inhale up, and then inhale, exhale. So I'm going to go back and forth like that. And then come back up. And let's do it standing. So you can repeat that seated if you like, or we can do it standing. And we'll do it standing with the feet pointing straight ahead. Is extending the arms out in 5-pointed star. And then inhale. And then as we exhale, we reach out and the hand comes down on the leg. Inhale up and exhale other side. Remembering to use the breath here. So I'm inhaling on the way up and then exhaling on the way down. Inhale up and exhale down. And one more time on each side. And then lower the arms down and bring the feet back together. I'm going to do a little bit with the neck, inhaling, lifting the chin up, and exhaling, releasing. So going back and forth. Relaxing the shoulders here. So sitting up nice and tall, but feeling the shoulders and the neck. So noticing what they feel like. So you want some ease there. So see if you can bring some ease to the neck movements. And then sitting up tall and then tipping the head. Then if you wanted to, you could use a pillow. Exhaling and just relaxing, letting the head rest on the hands. Inhaling up. Exhaling, resting. Inhaling up one more time on each side. And then the other side. And then coming up and gently swishing the nose from side to side, perhaps using the hand here. The gracefulness of the hand will guide the turning of the head. Now let's try this. We're going to go the opposite way. So I'm going to let the hand turn, or the hand travel in one direction, and the head, the neck and head are going to gently turn in the opposite, and then it goes the opposite way, like this. So if it feels different, we don't usually do it this way, start small, make the movement smaller in the front. And when you get the hang of it, when it feels comfortable, you can make the movements a little larger. And let's switch hands. Let's try it with the other hand. And then bringing the arms down, rolling the shoulders. Let's add some sun breaths to it. So we'll inhale and extend the arms up. So notice now what the sun breath feels like. See if you get maybe a little bit more ease of movement here compared to at the beginning. And a lot of times that the difference is subtle. So it won't make it twice as easy. It might just feel a little bit more comfortable. The heart might even open a little bit more. You might get a little bit more undulation in the spine, still being able to keep the spine lengthened, especially as you inhale. Feel the spine lengthening and extending up as the arms circle down and around. And let's go the other way. Bring the palms together. Very gently press the palms into each other. Feel the palms, feel the fingers touching, and then drop the hands. Turn the palms up. It can be nice to close the eyes here. Don't worry about what it looks like. See if you can feel it moving with ease. So as we begin to warm down, thinking more about ease of movement, letting go of the effort, less effort, more ease here. And then go ahead and lower the arms down. Let's roll the shoulders a couple of times. Maybe one and then the other, up and back. And go ahead and settle, please, into Shavasana. So sitting up nice and tall. And if you've taken off anything because you got warm, then you might want to put it back on now. As we cool down, the body temperature drops and hard to relax if we are cold. As we don't relax, we shiver. If we get cold, the body's automatic response is to shiver. So sitting up nice and tall, and take whatever support you need behind you so that the back is supported, the shape of the spine is supported. And find a place for the hands, a restful place in the lap, on the legs, whatever place is most restful for you. And whenever you're ready, allowing the eyes to close if that's comfortable. And noticing the breath, feeling the breath. And because we've been exercising a little bit, you might notice the breath is a little bit stronger or a little bit faster, and that's okay. We just keep paying attention to it, feeling the diaphragmatic breathing. feeling the belly going in and out. And slowly the breath begins to slow down. Just by watching the breath and being easy, taking it easy with the breath, it'll slow down on its own. And as the breath begins to slow, allow the face and eyes to soften. Release the jaw and the tongue and the throat. Let go of the shoulders and the arms and hands. And soften the chest, shoulder blades, the ribs, lower back, the abdomen. Release the buttocks and the hips. Relax the legs, the thighs, the knees, shins, and calves. Soften the ankles and the feet and the toes. And continue noticing the breath. And each time you exhale, allow the body to soften and relax and release a little bit more. If there's any places in the body that feel a little bit not as relaxed as you'd like, as you exhale, just bring your attention there and feel that area soften. Feel that part of the body release and relax. It's the power of the exhalation and the power of the mind together. So that'll officially complete our class today. So if you have a few minutes, please stay in your Shavasana a little longer. Just focus on the breath and imagine the body relaxing and releasing a little bit more. So thank you for practicing today. Namaste. See everyone next time.